Hey everybody, so welcome back to Jim Bob's Garden. So today, well, it was kind of a gloomy day, but now rain clouds have passed. We got a little touch of rain, but I want to talk about kind of a gloomy subject. Now, I'm not a prepper. I don't have a bunker. I don't have multiple rapid fire weapons to shoot everybody up that comes on my property. I don't have booby traps set and all the various, and I don't have escape tunnels. All the various and sundry different things that I think are so much fun. If you've never watched some of the prepper shows, I highly recommend it because you know, they are planning for a world that I really hope does not come to pass. But I want you to know that there are some things that are getting a little bit ugly. Now, just because I'm not a prepper doesn't mean that I'm not prepared. I was a Boy Scout. You know, it was one of the things that we learned is to be prepared, to know how to do things so that if, you know, things get ugly, you know what to do. And that's some of what I want to talk about. All right, some of the things I do prepare for, I guess that kind of makes me a prepper. But one is a hurricane season. Today, oh gosh, what is, I don't even know what the day is, but it's first part of June. And that's when hurricane season starts, and it'll continue all the way up to November, I believe. So here on the Florida coast, which I'm about, I think as the crow flies, 11-12 miles from the ocean. So that's a big concern. You know, we got to be prepared in case the hurricane does roll through here. We tend to lose power when that happens, and it can be for you know, 3, 4, 5 days that you can be without power. Grocery stores will close down, gas stations will close down because they also will have no power. And then oftentimes, one of the things people don't think about, when a store loses power, that means it loses refrigeration. And so that means all of your refrigerated food spoil. And for some unknown reason, none of these stores have any sort of a backup power system, typically speaking. So that's something that I do prepare for. And then some other things that you might want to think about preparing for, and in fact I'm, you know, trying to get prepared for, is number 2, a recession. If you sit and talk to everybody and listen to what's going on, I mean, a recession is looking pretty likely. All right. Now, some people are talking about a depression and, you know, 1929 all over again. I mean, I don't know. I think that might be a bit extreme. We have a lot of safeguards put in place to keep that kind of thing from happening. But another thing that could lead into that, and what led into the 1929 depression, or part of what really made the 30s an ugly, ugly time, is drought. And I don't know if you realize it or not, but right now, the western portion of the country is going through a pretty severe drought. And, you know, California in particular, that's where a lot of food comes from. I mean, a lot. And it's not only that. Now, you know, if you really want to do some research that'll make you, you know, sit up and go, whoa, hang on. Look into the aquifers. Look into what's going on with the aquifers in the breadbasket of the nation. And that's throughout the Midwest. There's one huge aquifer that runs throughout most of the plains. And then the California aquifers. They are getting very, very low. And then on top of that, you've got reservoirs like Lake Mead and so on that are getting very, very low. I mean, they're finding dead bodies that were buried because they would never find them on the bottom of the on the bottom of the lake. And those are popping up now, which is very interesting. But I mean, things are getting ugly. I mean, we're looking at food shortages right now. I mean, people are talking about, you know, the potential that we will have not just small scale, but large scale food shortages. Now, we grow a lot of our own food here in the United States, but for a lot of other countries, that's not the case, and they rely upon imports, some of our imports. But we still have issues here in the United States that could potentially cause large scale food shortages. All right. One of those is, you know, the problem with fertilizer. And we'll address what you can do about some of these things here in a little bit, but also rising fuel costs. I mean, if you can't afford to farm because gas is, so expensive, please don't misunderstand, or please make sure you understand that diesel fuel is what provides the food that you find in your grocery store. Between the farmers running the tractors and the various different components and the machinery that is required to plant the food, harvest the food, to the trucks that haul it, to where it can be shipped on a train, and even the train cars themselves, the engines that pull the trains, all of these rely on some sort of fossil fuels, all right? And that's a problem. Another thing that's getting ugly is the stock market. Well, that doesn't really affect me. I don't have a lot of stocks. You have a 401k? Well, yeah, that's, in the stock market. 99% of it is stock market money. And that's another thing that's really starting to look ugly. I mean, we're looking at some pretty serious dips in the stock market. I mean, I'll bet I've lost probably 50% of the money I have invested in the market has, at least on paper, gone away. Now, that only really goes away if you sell those stocks, because I'm in it for the dividends. I'm not in it for the rising price of the shares necessarily. Though that does help. It makes things look better. And when it comes time to cash in, which, I'm almost 60, so, in the near future, I'm going to be looking at cashing in some stocks. And in fact, I did here recently. Once I reached that 59.5 threshold, I went ahead and cashed a few in so I could take care of some debt that I wanted to get rid of. So that's a serious issue when it comes to wealth reduction. And, other people rely upon this, and that's going to cause more unrest throughout the country, because now, people who've gone about retiring dependent upon their stock portfolio to provide them with income are now looking at half as much money to provide them the income that they were, planning on using. And this is going to lead to political unrest. And I don't know, in my nearly 60 years of being around on this planet, this is probably, with the possible exception of the late 60s, early 70s, this is probably the most volatile political time that I've ever seen. All right, I mean, it's gotten crazy. People are hating on each other. One group of people in particular looks at the people who grow your food, the people in the center of the country, like there's some sort of animals, some sort of heathens that need to be brought into the fold and schooled on the way things really are. And I think that's a dangerous idea to get. Because these are the people that grow your food. These are the people who provide that meat that comes to the stock market, the corn and the wheat that your bread is made from, and all of the different things that are required is primarily made by that group of people that everybody else is really looking down upon. And I think that's a bad idea. We need to start calming down, I think, and talking to each other, and maybe stop the hype, so to speak. So, we got issues, we got problems. We're looking at some food shortages, rising fuel costs, stock market volatility, and some political unrest, possible recession. Some people even say depression, droughts that are occurring right now throughout the country. Even here in Florida, we haven't got nearly as much rain as we normally would have by this time of year. Hopefully that'll be solved here shortly, but we'll see. But, so with that being said, what do you do about it? Like I said, I'm not a prepper. I'm not going to store, go out and buy these plastic buckets full of food that are supposed to last 25 years. I got news for you. I can't keep a bucket, for more than about a year or two out here before that bucket rots. So I don't know. I don't trust a 25-year-old bucket of food, in my own personal opinion. But some of the things you can do, I would tell you, first thing I would do. So the first thing to do, in my opinion, would be to grow some compost. All right. Wait a minute, would you grow a garden first? Well, yeah, but you're going to have a real hard time growing a garden if you don't grow your own compost. I think that things are going to get to the point where, the demand on fertilizer is going to be such that it's going to be really hard to find, particularly for people like you and I that are growing our own gardens. All right, it's primarily going to go to the industrial uses, where it's used primarily in large farming, and it's going to be harder and harder to find. Plus, I don't like the idea of growing my food with non-organic fertilizer, even with organic fertilizer. I like being able to grow it out of my own compost. And yeah, the second thing would be to grow a garden. All right, I cannot tell you how important this is. Now, I know not all of you have the capability or the room to grow all your own food, and I understand that. I don't even grow all my own food. I would love to be able to do that, but I've only got 3/4 of an acre, and only about 1/4 of that is actually in garden of some sort or another. Might be getting a little closer to half, but you know, it's pretty much about 1/4 right now. And I'm going to continue to expand as the time goes on, but in order to do that, I need that compost. So, you know, why that's number one. A third thing I would talk about doing is planting some fruit trees. Now, I know fruit trees are probably not going to fill the need for any kind of a short fused emergency. In other words, you plant a fruit tree now, you're not going to get fruit probably for a couple more years. Even fruit bushes, some will grow immediately, but most of them are going to take a year or two to actually get established and provide any substantial amount of fruit. Now, this will help in a lot of different ways. One, if I grow my own food, that means I'm not buying food, and if I'm not buying food, that means there's less demand on food, or if all of us start to grow our own food, and that'll bring down the prices. All right? But along with that, because you're probably not going to be able to grow, and then like I said, you know, here one of the big problems is hurricanes. And hurricanes will tear up a fruit tree, or at least knock a lot of the fruit off. And so one of the things I'm making sure that I do is to fill my pantry. Now, when we bought this house, one of the selling points was it has a nice large pantry. But now, if you don't have a pantry as such, like a small closet where you store your food, you can turn any closet into a pantry. You can turn some of your cabinets into a pantry. But, you know, I highly recommend you start looking at getting food put away somewhere in your house where, you know, when things get ugly, like say for instance some sort of weather event that causes a interruption in the supply chain, having food stashed for at least a week is a really, really good idea. And I'm talking not just, you know, a couple of cans of corn and, you know, a can of soup per person per day for a week, but, you know, some sort of protein like canned meats, tuna, Spam. We like Spam. I know a lot of people don't. But also, you know, think about getting a freezer. You know, I have a freezer in my fridge. You know, it's a side-by-side. And I also have another small chest freezer that's out in my garage. Now, that requires electricity, but I also have a generator for that purpose. All right, and that allows me to have some cushion. And even, I don't want to say, even if we don't have a hurricane, having that cushion is nice. So if something comes up, like I got one of my cats that's acting up and looking like, you know, he might be getting sick, so I need to take him to the vet. So I'm going to be a little short on money this month, you know, because I got to spend some money on a vet bill. Well, having that cushion means that I can live off of that pantry if need be, if we get short towards the end of the month. All right, so fill your pantry up. Another thing you can learn to do, and I highly recommend this, is learn how to fix your own stuff. And everything from cars to, like I was watching, what was it? Something about somebody calling an electrician to fix the garbage disposal. Now, garbage disposal is not that hard to fix. I mean, it's really not. To replace a garbage disposal, you know, if things go poorly, it's about a 2-hour job, okay, maximum. And there's a lot of videos out there that will show you how to do it. YouTube is a fantastic resource, man, I want to tell you. But learn how to fix your own stuff. Everything from a tune-up on your car to, you know, fixing garbage disposals to, you know, repairing different things around your house. Most of that is doable. Fixing toilets, very simple. I've replaced many toilets. You know, just every little thing that you can do yourself saves you a ton of money when it comes to a repair bill. Now keep in mind, some things you got to be careful about. They're dangerous. I'm not going to get into all that, but learn how to fix your own stuff. I'm going to tell you, my grandfather fixed everything. You know, back in the day, you didn't call a plumber. You went out and fixed your toilet. Back in the day, you didn't have well, of course, they didn't have electricity when they first started out. But you know, when something, your roof got tore up, you went up and you fixed your roof. You know, because you didn't have roofers just hanging around. You went out and did it. That's how the farmers and the Depression era people. That's how they did. I mean, that's just what they did. They didn't call somebody else unless they needed a hand, and then usually you would trade off. Say, look, man, I'll tell you what. I need a new roof. You need some new windows. I'll help you put in your windows if you'll help me put in the roof. Things of that nature. Working with your neighbors and trying to help each other out. And with that, I'm going to tell you, you got to learn how to work hard. This whole garden behind you, and the fruit trees that I have, and the maintenance on my house, all of that is a result of hard work. All right. Basically, I'm trading my effort for money. I mean, because I would have to put out money to have somebody else come and do these things if I wasn't willing to do the work myself. I mean, even mowing the yard represents a pretty good, amount of labor. Then I can hire that out. I can have somebody come and do it. But if I'm willing to do the work, I save that money. So all it costs me is the price of the mower and gas. Whereas, it might cost me $100 a month to have somebody come and mow a yard this big. Probably a couple hundred. I don't know. Pretty good sized yard. All right. So learn how to do your own work and learn how to work hard, and man, you can save a lot of money. And with that, since you're saving a little bit of cash, save some cash. Get some cash put away. There's, a lot of different things out there online right now talking about how the average family in America doesn't have the cash put away to deal with a $600 unexpected bill. Like, for instance, I'm talking about having to take my cat to the vet. It's probably going to cost me $250 minimum. All right. So I can either not take the cat to the vet, and if he dies, he dies, which I'm not a real big one into spending money on frivolous things, at least for the pets. But I don't want the cat to die, so we might end up having to take the cat to the vet. Don't get me wrong, now the cat's okay. I think he's just got some tooth problems is all. He's like pawing at his mouth, and I think he's just got teeth that need to be pulled out. But having that cash on hand for emergencies. I mean, if you're driving along and your car stops working, that's a whole different thing than just doing a tune-up and such. You might have to have it towed, and you might have to have a $500, $1,000 repair done on your car, or you'll have to replace it with another car. So do you have the cash for that? If your refrigerator dies, which I have had happen. Matter of fact, I've replaced the refrigerator in this house and my old house. All right, and that's not cheap. I mean, fridges are $1,200, $1,500. So have some cash set aside, so that if something happens, you've got the backup to do that. And I understand some of you guys are living paycheck to paycheck, but dude, if you can save some money by doing your own garden, and if you can save some money by fixing your own stuff, and a couple other things I'm going to talk about, put some of that cash aside. All right. Now, one way, a great way to save yourself some cash is stop buying shit you don't need. All right. Stop it. I mean, if you don't really need it, now is not the time to buy it. If you don't have a couple $1,000 stashed somewhere in an account, then you shouldn't be out buying stuff, especially not on credit. Credit is a killer, man. I'm going to tell you right now, that's another fantastic thing you need to do is pay off that credit as best you can and as soon as you can. Another great way to save yourself some cash is learning to cook and finding the time to cook. I know a lot of you are busy, working 2 jobs, whatever the case may be, but when you get a day off, what you can do is cook you a big pot of spaghetti, maybe a couple of flats of lasagna, and then you can eat on that pretty much all week long. All right, learn how to cook so you don't have to go out and eat. I mean, it's so tempting to stop and get burgers at Wendy's or what have you, but I'll tell you, right now, just for the 3 of us, it is $30 to go get a meal at Wendy's. Even more at Taco Bell. Taco Bell used to be cheap. I don't know what happened there. But there's a lot of these different restaurants. It's going to cost you 30, 40 bucks just to get a meal, you know, for 3 people. That's expensive. If I cook that meal, I can probably do it for less than 10. All right, so that's just something to think about. Learning to cook is probably one of the best things you can do to save yourself some cash, so that you can put that cash away, so that when an emergency happens, you've got a way to deal with it. See how these things are all tied together? And then the last thing I talked about is staying home. All right, so right now it's vacation time, and if you got the money, you're flush with some cash, and you're good to go, by all means, take a vacation. But if you're broke and you're feeling like you have to do a vacation every year, that's just silly. I mean, take a vacation. Take a vacation, stay home, and maybe fix some stuff around the house, or set yourself up a small garden. All right, maybe get some things growing in your yard, and take that time off rather than going off on a vacation to, you know, someplace you might remember, you know, in 10 years, or you might not. Spend that money on setting yourself up for future success by, you know, maybe planting a few fruit trees and setting up a garden in your backyard. Start growing some things. So, like I said, I'm not a prepper, and I don't want you to think, you know, hey, the world's coming to an end, and you know, oh my God, we're all going to be fighting each other, killing each other off. Ah! Let's all run in circles and act like we're, you know, insane. No, we're not to that point yet, and I don't think we will be. But you know, things are going to get tight for a while. And you know, if you don't have some cushion there, you're going to feel the squeeze. Bottom line, you're going to feel the squeeze. So start thinking about ways that you can not necessarily become a prepper as such, but being prepared for what may be coming down the pipe. You know, grow you some compost, grow a garden, plant you some fruit trees, fill your pantry up, learn how to fix your own stuff, learn how to work hard to get the things done that need to get done, so that you don't have to spend the money for somebody else to do it. Put some cash away, stop buying shit you don't need, learn to cook, and stay home. You know, yeah, the latest movie coming out, man, I would love to go see the Top Gun movie. I just want you to know, original Top Gun movie was filmed in Miramar, California, which at the time was a Navy base where the F-14 flew. And I was actually working on the F-14. I was learning to work on the F-14 in Miramar about 6 months after the movie was made. Now the new Top Gun movie is all about the F-18 and, you know, the pilots and all, Tom Cruise. And I got out of the Navy. My last squadron was working on the brand new E&F F-18s. So it's really interesting to me, because that's what I worked on and where I worked around was fighter jets, along with helicopters and some other stuff. But I started my career and ended my career where Top Gun started and now is ending. So kind of interesting. So I do want to go see the movie. But you know what? I'll probably just wait till it comes out on cable, and I'll watch it on cable. All right, because right now, I can't really justify the expense of going out to see that movie. I'd rather stay home, take care of my garden, and save a little bit of cash, so that if shit goes down, I got something to back it up with. All right, I've got resources set aside so that I'm not going to get hurt. All right, well, thanks for stopping by and letting me rant. I really wanted to put this video out because I think people need to start really waking up and looking at what's going on and where you think you might be in a few years. All right, 'cause this is not going to be a short thing. I think it's going to be a year-long thing, 2-year-long thing, maybe longer. All right, so just be advised that it might be time to start doing a little preparation. Not becoming a prepper necessarily, but a little preparation goes a long way. All right. Once again, thanks for stopping by. Do me a favor, give me a like and subscribe if you like what I'm saying. Let me know what you think in the comments. But most importantly, grow something. All right, grow something in your garden, and it doesn't matter what. You know, like I'm gonna grow a bunch of sweet potatoes, and they're not my favorite, but they'll make a turd. All right. On that note, thanks again. Y'all come back and see me.